Welcome to the Sacred Birthwork and Business podcast, where sacred birthwork meets soul-aligned business. I'm your host, Anna Lundqvist, a former midwife, now sacred birthworker mentor, business coach, and the founder of Sacred Birth International. My intention with this podcast is to inspire you to follow your birthworker calling and to step fully into your power and purpose and unapologetically claim your place as the feminine leader that you were meant to be in your life and community. Let's reclaim sacred birthwork, let's reclaim sacred business, and let's do it the feminine way. Let's begin. Hi, and welcome to the Sacred Birthwork and Business podcast. Today, I am coming on to this episode days before my bleed in the beginning of my descent. And I wanted to bring you with me today. Instead of last week creating a couple of podcasts to be able to not show up this week, I actually intentionally wanted to bring you with me into how I flow in my business, in my flow. So in my feminine cycle. So I'm currently in late autumn phase before my winter, so before my bleed. I am guessing that I'll probably get my bleed in a couple of days, something like that. I'm feeling kind of the slowness setting in, the heaviness, that my brain is very clear, very present, but how do I explain this? Well, really, when I am in this phase of my cycle, I'm so present that I have a hard time doing something planned. Say, for example, if I wanted to do a podcast episode today about some topic where I just want to remember things and maybe draw on different statistics, or I need to remember things in my brain. See, I'm already having struggling finding words. Whereas when I'm in this phase of my cycle, I'm very like one single focus, and it's very much like what is in front of me right now. So this is actually a time where I can be very beautifully present for clients and students, mentees, where I can show up as a really good space holder for others. But it's not a time where for example, I was thinking, I might want to bring this topic this week, for all of you who are thinking about becoming birth workers, what's the difference between going and doing a doula training or a sacred birth worker training or a midwife training or all of these different things. And that's definitely something I'm going to cover here, but I couldn't even hold that in my brain right now. Like there's too many tabs to have open. And right now I can only have one tab open. And I wanted to bring you here with me in my autumn brain, diving into the womb space, because I wanted to share with you what a week in my business looks like as I am descending, and how I do show up for my business, even though I am descending, and that, in this time I am changing how I show up, and I honor where I'm at, just like I am bringing you this episode from this place of very much being in a dreamy state, in a slow state, in a very feeling state. This is the time in my month where I'm just very present through my heart and my womb, which is why actually holding kind of women's circles or one-on-one sessions or group sessions, it works this week because I am so in tune with who I'm showing up with. I'm so present with all my senses, also, my intuition. It's just very heightened at this time. And so my kind of neocortex shuts off, my kind of thinking brain, my analytic brain, my logical brain, my planning brain, my doing kind of and performing brain. And I'm just, involuntarily, it just happens as I am woman, right? Just dropping into the beingness. And it's like a non-negotiable. I can't not, like I can't force my brain now to like produce and perform. I'm just fully in my feminine body. I'm really drawn down into my womb space. I feel her. I feel like this very slight um, murmur, movement, presence in my womb. She's starting to fill up. I can feel that. There's starting to be these gentle, um, not contractions, but contracting energy, expanding energy, contracting energy, expanding energy. There's a dullness. Yeah, there's heaviness. And, if you're a woman, it's obviously, I would say 99% of you who are watching this on YouTube or listening on the podcast are women and you're birth workers or wanting to become birth workers. And so you've experienced this. And yeah, so this is where I'm at. This is where I'm showing up from. If you are watching on YouTube, you can see that I'm wearing this deep, like wine red woolen poncho. I'm wearing this brown woolen skirt that's hugging my tummy and keeping me warm. And this is where I flow from this week. So, as I'm recording this, it is Monday. I'll be airing this on Wednesday because Wednesdays is usually when I show up, but I know that I'll probably bleed on Wednesday or Thursday. So, I'm doing this on Monday while I'm still more present kind of in my brain. I haven't done the full descent yet. And for this week, this afternoon, I'm actually going to show up for a podcast where I am the guest. And I feel like I can still do this today. I am going to be, speaking even more so, which is the beauty of this phase of my cycle, even more so from kind of this oracle space from within my heart, my womb space, because I'm going to be so connected to her today. So whatever's going to be transmuted in this other podcast that I'm showing up for, it's going to look very different from if I was going to show up for that podcast on my ovulation day, or around that time where I'm ovulating. I would be so like expressive and I would be so bubbly and just full of energy and probably have so much to share and just the energy would be high. Whereas today I'm going to lean back in my chair and just be more of like that oracle woman, that transformational energy is going to come through that, things will come through even deeper channeled messages because of where I'm at in my cycle, which is also so special and so interesting how we flow through these different phases of our cycle as women and actually how we show up as kind of different aspects of ourselves throughout that time. And so that's today. I'll do that. I want to tell you about my morning before I move on to what I'm doing for the next few days in this week. This morning I woke up around 7:30. And because it's late autumn now here, it was just, the light has just started to break through. So it's still quite not dark, but, that in between magical time. And so I lit only candles and fairy lights. And I had my cup of coffee and I just sat in this beautiful, beautiful morning energy, breathing with my womb. And um, from that place, I created some Instagram posts for my Sacred Birthworker mentorship that is coming up. And that's also something that really, really works in this time of my cycle. to sit for a few hours and just weave and dream with art, creating stuff for my social media from this oracle place, from this deep dive into my heart and womb, this just buzzing, humming presence that I'm in. And so that was a lovely morning. And then I had a late breakfast out on the veranda in the sunshine in this autumn, fresh, crisp energy before I felt ready to jump in the shower and get ready to dive into this, creating this episode. And then, of course, after this, I will show up for this other podcast. And, that's probably what my days will look like this week. I'll have really, I mean, I usually have really slow mornings, but I'll be even more slow and probably will be spending my mornings with doing art for the mentorship launch that I'm now kind of in. So, my next Sacred Birth Worker mentorship starts in January 2026, the 19th of January. And so, that's 3 months from now, almost exactly, a bit less maybe. And so it's time to start weaving and calling in the new mentees, the women that feel drawn to step into this ancient calling, woman's calling of being birth workers. And so it's the perfect time in my cycle to be weaving kind of the art and the kind of promotion for this mentorship now when I'm in this very heart-centered, womb-centered presence space in my cycle because I enjoy it and also because that which I create is so like just so true. I feel like in this time of our cycle, we are so honest, we're so potent with our words and our expressions, and it's the perfect time to do this craft, really crafting these messages that are going to speak to my soul aligned sister that is thinking about stepping onto this path and speaking to her heart, to her womb, to her remembrance of this ancient profession and wanting to step into this kind of line of work. So I'll do that probably in the mornings. And then this week is actually quite full for me with one-on-one sessions. So I have two interviews where I'm going to interview two mamas tomorrow about their natural and empowering and positive birth stories. So I'll sit in the birth story portal tomorrow. And then on Wednesday and Friday, I think it is, I have mentorship sessions. So with my mentees, I'm going to show up for them and coach them, mentor them as they are now in we're in currently the module about the postpartum. So diving into the maiden to mother transition, how to serve women in this portal straight after birth and the weeks and months after through ceremony, through sacred space holding, through assisting with breastfeeding and baby care and mama care and healing practices, and really diving deeply into this beautiful craft of being with woman postpartum and assisting her as she is kind of exploring becoming the mother. That is something that, of course, starts as you conceive a baby, throughout pregnancy. Birth is kind of that pivotal moment where you do physically, birth this baby and, according to the world, become the mother of this baby. And then you're moving through out this time, both pregnancy and postpartum, in redefining yourself as this mother, right? And so right now we're in this module in the Sacred Birthworker Mentorship, and so I'm meeting my mentees this week, both talking through their own rite of passage if they have birth babies and their own journey of becoming the mother and looking at what they learned, maybe their own struggles or woundings in that, or also, of course, the gifts and all of the beauty of that rite of passage, just to look at what is she going to bring to her clients, always doing the inner work, always sitting with how we bring, you know, ourselves as sacred space holders um, to the women that we're serving, and not with preconceived ideas about this rite of passage through our own lens only. And so that's going to be beautiful. Um, this week, I'm going to mentor a maiden who is taking this mentorship, wanting to serve women in the birth portal and also wanting to become pregnant herself. And one woman who birthed babies already, and she's in her postpartum portal right now. And then also a midwife who've chosen to take the sacred birthworker mentorship to deepen her craft as a sacred space holder, bring in more ceremony and ritual and a different lens than she kind of got trained in as a midwife in the system. So that's going to be so beautiful to sit with my beautiful mentees this week. And because I'm in this soft, gentle, present space, it's going to be so powerful to be with them and hold them. And then on Friday, I finish, of course, the week with the business live. We are almost at the end of our month together. And so this will be our fourth live out of five. And I'll show up just as I am, probably bleeding, most likely in my second or third day of my bleed. So during the first and second, I tend to be so deep, whereas the third, fourth, I'm kind of out of that depth, and I'm more back into my neocortex, which will be perfect to be able to be a bit more alert for all the questions that they'll be having as we are diving deep into creating high ticket offers, both in real life and online, creating online courses online, diving into marketing and selling from heart and soul as women of service. And so we usually always start with a bit of a dance. And so we'll see where I'm at in my cycle, how soft or how, exciting that dance will be or be creating. And that's what my week looks like work-wise. And as you might know as well, I have a blog, the Natural Birth blog on my website. And I will be writing a blog this week. Actually, that's something that I love doing in my autumn winter phase of my cycle. I actually really enjoy blogging and writing blogs, um, more so than showing up like this, having to perform in a sense, because weaving and writing can take, you can do that over hours or days, and you can go back and edit, and it's not like you have to get it on the first go. And that's why I also wanted to show up for you this week to also show how different I am this week from the previous episodes have all been recorded outside of my autumn winter phase. They've been in the spring summer of my cycle. So where I'm much more expressive. I think all of my almost episodes of this podcast I've been standing, and being very energetic and having a lot to say and share. And you can feel me, can't you? This week I am definitely more reflective and slow, and my brain is definitely not as present. Or it is present, but not as switched on, is the word. And I guess that's something that very much happens this week, that um, I have a hard time maybe finding words. I fumble with words. And that's just the reality. That's who I am at this time of my cycle. So, how I also nurture myself though, because definitely in my autumn and in my winter, so my bleed, I nap a lot. I'll most likely nap depending on how my workday is, but um, in the afternoon, I'll have a nap. Sometimes I'll have a nap even in the late morning, just to lie down on the couch for 20 minutes or going up to bed, lying on my Shakti mat to have a bit of a deep kind of reset. Um, yeah, and just shorter days, really allowing myself to do less and flow more, um, having much less mm, expectations of myself. I'm much more allowing. So if I don't do something this week, that's okay. Like if I go, oh yeah, no, that will just not happen this week. I won't do that. Or I'll push that to next week. And yeah, I mean, I'm always quite kind to myself, but even more so in my autumn and winter, really trying my best to not override myself. And it's okay if something doesn't get done and if something's moved. It's okay. And it's okay if I need to cancel a session or an interview, whatever. It's okay. I allow myself to do that. Um, really showing up for myself first before clients and students and other things that I've got on my schedule. And I tend to also very much focus on nutritious food, nurturing myself, and taking breaks. That's something I can be very loose with in my spring, summertime. I can easily just do, because I have all that energy. Whereas actually taking these breaks is so easy in my autumn and winter. I really am. I'm doing that, no questions asked. Whereas I can easily just continue when I have all that energy in spring and summer and all that creativity just bursting out. But yeah, is there something else I would like to share with you? Let me tune in. Maybe you want to take a breath with me and see what is present for you right now. One thing I want to say is that trust your feminine flow. Trust that it is wise to rest more in your autumn and winter phase of your cycle. Trust that if you do, you'll have even more energy and creativity in your spring and summer. The more you honor yourself, actually, the more you probably also will be able to show up for your business in this time. It's okay to cancel things in this time. I really want to say that because I think that that's something that we can struggle with accepting and just dare to be in the dreaming and weaving of this time. So, inviting as you are feeling this pull inward, listening to that and sitting in meditation, sitting because it's so easy in this time. Like if you close your eyes when you're in your late autumn and you're bleeding, like you are just like drawn down into your womb space so quickly. She just pulls you in. So sit there, like close your eyes and just be with her and see what comes through. When we rest, so much comes through for our life, but also for our business, ideas, and yeah, these creative, genius ideas. They come through this time. So I would say plan to have some planning days, which doesn't mean like sitting down and like forcing something, but like sitting down and meditating and diving into your womb wisdom and seeing what she wants to tell you about the next month or the next quarter or next 6 months or a year. What is moving in her? Where is she wanting you to turn? Is she bringing you something new for your business or for your life? I think this is a real um, forgotten superpower that we have as women. That instead we tend to override ourselves in this time and be in the masculine doing and performing continuously instead of really leaning back into our feminine and into our womb space and using this time as the oracle, as the one who has this, like the veils are so thin at this time in our cycle and we know things deeply. We can access this intelligence like like that, just so it's so there for us. So see if you in your next cycle now can take time off in your just before you bleed and you bleed, wherever you're feeling this pull within you, like this drawing in, and allow yourself to be in the dreaming and weaving of this time. That is my kind of gift to you today, I think, that I really want to encourage you to do. And that's how I conduct, business and being a woman in my cycle and still showing up for my business just in a bit of a different way this week than last week. I hope this inspired you. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you did, I'd love to know. Please leave me a comment if this was inspirational for you. Are you working with your cycle in your business and in your life? Do you do this? Do you sit in meditation to see what comes through in this time? I'd love to know. Thank you for listening. If you love this podcast, then please share the love on your podcast app by leaving a comment or pop over to our Instagram at Sacred Birth International. I'd love to connect there. If you'd like to know more about the Sacred Birthworker Mentorship or the business course for birthworkers, then head on over to sacredbirthinternational.com to learn more. Thank you for listening.